Alright, so we finally have patch notes for the first patch in Season 14, and what I want to see is higher iconic, unique drop chance, iconic mythics, because right now, if you don't craft it from the blacksmith, good luck ever seeing it, right? Good luck ever seeing any of them. And then if you do craft it, obviously that takes up your one crafted slot, so you can't craft anything else, and the whole seasonal, like the fragments, completely useless. Because if you use them to craft something, you have to get rid of your iconic. It's just bad. So anyway, let's see what we got here.
Some hot fixing and stuff like that has been going on. So I want to show you what it's all about. To be fair, there is actually not really all too much stuff in here. There is yeah, some small fixes, mostly for the rewards of like the seasonal stuff. So that is kind of nice. And very little, basically no balancing at all. A few bug fixes across the classes. And I have like the most important stuff written down here. But it's more, what is not mentioned than what is actually in this patch, to be fair. But let's go through this here real quick. So yeah, so let's start with like one of the big things, uniques and mythics. So apparently they fixed an issue that was preventing certain sources of uniques from dropping as mythic, including their bosses. Whatever that means, me maybe have seen my
What does
video
that even
where I
mean?
was talking about my
Hold
2000
on. Fix an issue that was preventing certain sources of uniques from dropping as mythic, including lair bosses. I've got mythics from lair bosses though, so that's strange.
bosses at the start of the season. I didn't get any iconic uniques, and
Yeah,
it was
see,
overall relatively.
he just said too, he hasn't got any iconic uniques, and he's level 300 by the way. He's been level 300 for days. So the fact that he hasn't seen any, so I'm not crazy.
Disastrous. So apparently that has kind of gone pretty far now with like I'm even appearing in some gaming news. But yeah, I don't know what to expect. I would expect that it's gonna be more mythics now. So whatever was happening there, at the very
Great.
least, I guess iconic uniques were just not really dropping as intended. They're also specifically called out that there's going
Mm,
to be a higher chance for a mythic to roll as an iconic mythic now. So overall, maybe this drought that we have been experiencing is also just unintended.
perfect.
And after the patch, it might be worthwhile to farm a lot more mythics, especially lair bosses. So a lot of people have already been kind of like holding their keys, trying to wait for that patch, and it seems like that was worth it. So maybe if you haven't done
Sweet.
that, you can farm up the keys and then try the lair bosses after. I would expect it to be much better than before. That being said, since I mentioned my 2000 lair bosses, I did get a lot of mythics, but just not the iconic ones. I would
He just said 2,000 lair bosses. He's done 2,000 lair bosses. He got a lot of mythics, no iconics. I knew something had to be bugged with that. It's just crazy.
say I probably got somewhere in the range of 100 plus mythics from doing that or so. So it does definitely add up over time, and it's going to be more, it seems. So we might actually have a relatively realistic chance to farm the items that you want now, but we'll see. Now let's talk about the seasonal stuff. So seasonal stuff is getting pretty juiced from what it seems like. However, I'm not 100% sure what that means for every single content type where you can encounter seasonal stuff. So, for example, it is in Helltides, is it in Pit, and there's also like the Starbound set event of the Realm Walker and so on. So we'll have to like wait and see how good this really is and how often you actually like spawn the Death Toll chambers, because frankly, I've barely done the seasonal stuff and it was just like completely worthless basically until now. So maybe it's gonna spawn more often as well and these kind of things, but that's not exactly mentioned. Either way, there's going to be a red board in Temis, so you don't have to go teleport to Salvin all the time,
Oh,
so that's
thank
kind of
God.
sweet. There's also going to be a fragment for the repeatable caches. So if you have already maxed out the entire red board, you get the
Wow.
infinite caches. And if you have any of those, then hold, wait until the patch, because you're going to get a fragment each every time now. So this was
Wow.
actually supposed to be in the original launch, I think, and it just was bugged or something. You didn't get any fragments. Now you do, so you can actually cache them in later. And that's what I'm planning to do if my character hopefully doesn't rip. And then we
Oh,
have
he's
the Death
hardcore.
Toll
That's right.
chambers. They were also absolutely worthless. They now give a superior lair key that is actually relatively juiced.
That's
And
pretty good.
this just kind of comes down to how often do they appear. But if they appear, you're gonna go in there getting a free superior lair key. That is just one free kill of Belial or the new boss. And both of them are pretty rewarding. So whenever you see one of those, you want to go in. It takes like 30 seconds basically. So it's kind of nice for one of those keys. And it could even get you more than one, it sounds like. Then we also have the new lab boss giving potentially up to 2 fragments. I'm not sure if that means every time 2 fragments on T12. It seems to scale up. Right now it's always 1, I believe, or at least on a high tolerance it's 1 fragment. And they're also reducing the cost to upgrade to Mythic to 4 from 5. Actually, they already nerfed it from 7 to 5, and now it's 4. And you get a lot more of these fragments, and you can cash in the Seer and
See, but the problem right now is if you have to craft an iconic mythic, like if you're on Barb, you really want either the damage over time one, um, I can't even, oh, Vow, Shattered Vow. You either want Shattered Vow if you're going like a Rend build or a Bleed build. You want Selig, maybe if you're going Whirlwind, or Grandfather, right? 3 iconics, or 1 iconic for each build. And if they're not dropping right now, you have to craft it, which then ruins like you don't care about fragments or anything because they're not usable. So hopefully they actually drop now the iconic mythics. Otherwise, this whole seasonal stuff it's all just gonna be useless. So
so
let's
on.
see.
So overall, at least getting this like one really juiced mythic of your choosing is gonna be extremely easy after this patch, basically. So just like craft it, like you pick whatever is the biggest multiplier on your gear. That is gonna be very easy to accomplish. However, nothing is being done about the crafted limitation. So this is definitely a huge kind of like point of discussion at the very least, I guess.
Which is fine. I think, not removing the crafted limit is fine as long as everything is dropping as it should be. Because you don't want to be forced to craft something because it's just not dropping. Like, I don't know.
Where people are just very unhappy about having only one crafted item, especially because there's these 2 different pools of iconics and the rest. And well, sometimes you need that iconic item, right? You need the
Yeah.
Selig for some buff builds, or you need the Starless for your resources, or something
Mm,
like that. And you can't really then, do anything with the seasonal stuff, right? It's like
exactly.
you can't craft the iconics with them,
Exactly.
and you have all these thousands of fragments, and what are you gonna do, right? So that's kind of like the weird part about this whole thing. If you go for one of the iconics, then you don't need the season stuff. And if you
Exactly.
don't go for any of the iconics, then you don't need any mythic drops or like at least the sparks really to craft anything with that. So either way, one of the 2 is just completely useless resource that you can't do anything with. That's kind of
Uh,
what bothers me the most, to be honest. But it is what it is, and this is what you're gonna get. And lastly, for the new seasonal lair boss, there's also Nemesis lair potential now. So overall, we're going to be farming that new boss more often. It's a relatively juiced boss, also gives you mythic seals more often and stuff like that. And a lot of mythics in general. I think in my count, it was like 1 mythic every 8 kills or something. So pretty good. And if you get all of these keys plus Nemesis layers, it's going to be actually pretty stacked. And then potentially even more mythics because apparently something was bugged. All right, some other stuff here. Eldarin, look at that. Can now be crafted at a blacksmith. So rejoice, I guess, if you're looking for that. Especially the rogues like this thing, but I guess there's other classes, like maybe some sword bills and stuff. Eldarin is just kind of a cool item. So I like that one. That is now going to be obtainable. So that was like basically not in the game until now. Invasion portals are mentioned. I'm not sure what that means exactly. There was some mention about invasion portals. I think somewhere here or so in some of these fixes. They don't stack on top of each other anymore. I'm not sure which portals.
is this talking about like the rupture portals? How sometimes they could stack and you could like close multiple at the same time? Why would they take that away? Like, why are you making the seasonal thing more annoying to deal with? That's a weird change,
It
but
means could be
whatever.
Undercity. This could be the ruptures, but they're called ruptures that people farm in Helltide. So I don't know. Just want to mention this. Whisper ambushes are now fixed and drop loot everywhere. However, Belial in Infernal Hordes is not mentioned, so I would expect that to still not work, but I guess we'll see. But if you have that note in Infernal Hordes, if anyone ever does Infernal Hordes, yeah, at least in the past that didn't work. And now let's talk about the classes, or well, what we can say about it, to be honest. So there's basically nothing there. Stinger Spiritborn is getting a fix, which results in a reduction in damage. So that is basically
Okay.
gone. So Spiritborn, we're gonna have exactly 1 build, just as before. Warlock is getting some slight set fixes. Druids getting a slight bug fix. I'm not sure how much this will really matter. It's kind of hard to judge because I haven't really played a Druid yet, and I just know that there's like, 6 different bugs stacked on top of each other for stuff like Shred.
Mm,
And one of them is like the permanent stat snapshot with the storm set. So that could be fixed now. And that would also result in a reduction to damage. But I mean, Druids are eating very well this season, so they're not going to really struggle with that. It should be fine.
why are they fixing like a class is performing well? We're going to fix it to prevent it from happening, but Rogue is sitting at the top doing 150s, in 4 minutes, and no other class is competing with that, and they're just not doing anything about it. Okay.
Barbs and Rogues basically get nothing, and Sorks and Necro get actually nothing. So I guess they're just perfect. Sorks and Necro, they don't need patch notes. So here we are. And lastly, what was not
That's
mentioned?
crazy.
A lot.
Something that really, right now, there's only like one good sort build, right? The firewall build. Why, why not like change the cold set from 200% to 300% or something? Like it's just so bad. Like why is the best Blizzard build for Sork Lightning Blizzard? Like what a disgrace, and no one thinks that's a problem. I mean, whatever.
Yeah, so yeah, no balancing, no pit bubble, the row kind of 50 bug. However, I did hear that Umbral Crux has been disabled. The problem is that Umbral Crux is not actually the key ingredient to the bug, and it's still possible as far as I'm aware.
Oh,
So we'll
jeez.
see. Maybe they're gonna like stealth fix that or something like this. Maybe they didn't put it in the patch notes on purpose because they don't want to actually tell people how it works or whatever. So that could be it. I would expect a fix to this, but it's not mentioned. Craft attack limitation is not mentioned, as I talked about. Mephisto camera bug is not mentioned. The 6 Spiritborn bug, so Spiritborn Rejoice, I guess. And also upgrade to Mythic not actually being an upgrade and just like a random item is also not mentioned. So here we go. This is the patch. This is coming
Weird.
on July 14th. I must say, relatively disappointing. So, we have been waiting very long for just
Yeah.
even getting the patch notes. It's like a 2-week patch instead of a 1-week patch. And then there's so little in it. A bunch of like pretty important stuff is not even included here. Yeah, oof, to be honest. But yeah, let me know what you think. This is what we got here. I'll keep you guys posted if there's more stuff coming up. And I'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, so they're really bamboozling people with the upgrade to Mythic thing, because it's just inconsistent. Like if you upgrade to Legendary, it keeps all of its stats and just adds a Legendary aspect, right? So someone would think, okay, I have these nice gloves. If I upgrade them to Mythic, they will keep all of their stats and just upgrade to Mythic quality. Nope, completely random. Like they need to fix the text on that and make it more consistent, or say transform to random Mythic or something. Like it's not clear and people are getting bamboozled. But really sad to see Rogue still at the top. They don't care. No balancing at all. Sorks suck. Necro, Paladin suck, suck, suck. And it's nice to see they fixed the Mythic drop chance, but everything else kind of poop. So I guess that's it. We'll see what happens.